If your joints ache, you absolutely must watch this video until the end. You likely know all too well that familiar stiffness upon waking. It can take several minutes, sometimes even half an hour, just to reach the kitchen for your knees to loosen up and for that persistent nagging ache in your back to subside. Climbing stairs becomes a daunting challenge, grocery bags feel like a Herculean task, and even a change in weather seems to twist your joints. The most frustrating part is that you aren't 20 years younger. You're here today with all your experience and wisdom, but in a body that suddenly feels like it's limiting you. Joint pain after 50 is not an inevitable part of aging. It's a warning sign. It signals that your cartilage is thinning, your bones are becoming more brittle, and a silent inflammation is brewing deep inside, something you might not even suspect. Arthritis, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. These are words that often go hand in hand. Arthritis signifies inflammation. Osteoarthritis involves wear and deformation of the joint, and osteoporosis is a loss of bone density, where even a minor fall can lead to a fracture. None of this happens to a person overnight. These processes accumulate internally over years while you endure, thinking it will hurt and then pass. Why does this pain even appear? As we age, collagen production decreases, that essential protein that builds cartilage. Less movement leads to poorer blood circulation, leaving your joints literally starved for nutrients. Add to this excess weight, hidden inflammation, and deficiencies in vitamin D, calcium, and omega-3 fatty acids, and your joints begin to deteriorate faster than your body can repair them. Many people make the same mistake at this point. They rely solely on pain relievers. A pill masks the symptom but doesn't address the root cause. It's crucial to understand that after 50, your joints demand discipline from you. Not heroic efforts through pain, but consistent, daily, almost domestic care. Not sudden movements, but thoughtful exertion. Not a handful of random supplements, but precise, simple, yet regular actions. And sometimes this action involves literally one spoonful a day. A spoonful that acts not as a miracle cure, but as a tool, reducing inflammation, improving cartilage nourishment, supporting bone density, and helping your body do its job. Some of you might be thinking, another magic spoonful of something that will fix everything. And you'd be right to think that if you're expecting a miracle. But let me be upfront. No single spoonful, no single product will replace a comprehensive treatment plan, proper medical examination, exercise, and dietary adjustments. However, the right spoonful in your diet can be that small yet highly effective lever that shifts the situation in the right direction. This is especially true if you're already experiencing joint pain, arthritis, osteoarthritis, early signs of osteoporosis, or are at risk due to a slender build, sedentary lifestyle, desk job, or early menopause. Why do I emphasize small daily steps so much? Because joints and bones dislike abrupt changes. They thrive on stability, sufficient protein intake daily, adequate measured exercise, normal vitamin D levels, and focused attention on nutrients that reduce inflammation and aid in restoring cartilage and bone structure. This is where our single spoonful comes into play, a concentrated source of what is almost always lacking in a typical diet after the age of 50. You've likely noticed that people with similar medical evaluations and diagnoses experience vastly different outcomes. Some struggle to move, while others lead active lives, tending their gardens, walking, and traveling. The difference isn't just in medications, it's in their habits, in what they feed their joints daily. Whether you spend 20 minutes getting moving in the morning or rise and go about your day with ease largely depends on the small decisions you make in your own kitchen. Science has long established that chronic, silent inflammation, is a primary enemy of joints. It doesn't always manifest with a high fever or dramatic symptoms, but it silently erodes cartilage and bone over years. Some of this inflammation originates in the gut and from our diet: excess sugar, processed foods, trans fats. Part comes from excess weight, which mechanically overloads the knees, hips, and spine. Another part stems from a deficiency in beneficial fats and micronutrients that should be slowing down degradation and supporting repair processes. Imagine having a simple, daily method without complicated regimens to provide your body with a small portion of a substance that reduces inflammation and helps your joints function more smoothly. I must emphasize up front that what we discuss next does not replace seeking medical attention. Examinations, X-rays, MRIs, blood tests are essential. If you are already experiencing severe pain, deformation, limited mobility, nighttime pain, or clicking with blocked movement, this is a direct indication not to delay a visit to a specialist. However, in parallel with your medical investigations, you can take another important step. Begin step by step to change what you put on your plate, and you can truly start with 1 spoonful a day without drastic reforms or complex diets. We will explore exactly which product, in the form of 1 spoonful, can genuinely help your joints and bones. What role does it play in arthritis, osteoarthritis, and osteoporosis? How to choose it correctly, in what quantities to use it, what to combine it with, and when to exercise particular caution. And most importantly, at the end, I will specifically highlight a crucial point that most people overlook, even if they are already taking something for their joints. This point often determines whether your spoonful will work for your benefit or simply be ineffective. If you want to continue receiving clear, honest breakdowns free from miracles and marketing hype, focusing on health after 50, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. For you, it's a minor finger movement, but for me, it's an opportunity to record more detailed analyses like this for mature, informed individuals rather than chasing sensationalism. Now let's calmly and systematically break down what lies behind this very spoonful for joints and bones, and why, especially after 50, it can play an unexpectedly significant role for you. Many wonder why, specifically after the age of 50, 1 small spoonful of a particular product begins to work more noticeably than it would at 30 or 40. The reason is quite simple. The body enters an entirely different mode of operation. Tissue renewal slows down and collagen production diminishes. Hormonal shifts occur, calcium is less effectively absorbed, and inflammatory processes become more active. What was previously overlooked is now felt in every movement. Therefore, we continue with the approach we've already begun discussing. Joints require not a miracle, but the right fuel. And today, we're talking about that very spoonful that helps joints literally breathe easier. A spoonful of gelatin or hydrolyzed collagen. Why gelatin specifically? Because it's a concentrate of amino acids, the building blocks of your cartilage, ligaments, and even parts of your bones. Gelatin is essentially broken down collagen. It contains glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, the structural components your body uses to assemble proteins. With age, these become less abundant, which is a key factor in osteoarthritis. Cartilage tissue can't keep up with repair. And here's where 1 spoonful of gelatin daily provides your body with something it can no longer synthesize in the same volume. But it's important to understand that we're not talking about an instant effect. Gelatin doesn't work like a painkiller. It functions as a building material. When there's a shortage of building materials, home repairs proceed slowly. When they become available daily, even in small amounts, steadily, the walls begin to strengthen. According to observational studies, regular gelatin intake for 8 to 12 weeks improves joint mobility, reduces morning stiffness and lessens chronic pain. This is particularly felt by individuals with knee osteoarthritis, one of the most common issues after 50. There's another important aspect. Gelatin isn't just involved in cartilage support, it also contributes to bone strengthening. Research indicates that the amino acids within it reduce the activity of inflammatory mediators associated with bone degradation. This is extremely important for osteoporosis. Osteoporosis isn't solely about calcium, it's about the quality of the bone matrix. If the matrix is weak, calcium has nowhere to integrate. And here, a spoonful of gelatin helps reinforce the framework that supports calcium. To help you visualize what happens internally, a bone isn't just a stone. It's a living structure akin to reinforced concrete. It has a foundation of collagen fibers and a filler of minerals, primarily calcium. If the collagen foundation is robust, the bone withstands stress. If the foundation weakens, the bone becomes brittle. That's why, after 50, we increasingly discuss not just calcium, but also collagen support. And a spoonful of gelatin is one of the most accessible ways to provide this support to your body. But what's particularly crucial is that gelatin only works with consistent consumption. One spoonful today, and then forgetting about it for a week won't yield results. Joints thrive on stability, they appreciate routine. Therefore, the simplest way to establish a habit is 1 tablespoon of gelatin mixed with warm water, juice, or yogurt every day. You can take it in the evening, as the glycine in gelatin has a mild calming effect on the nervous system and helps improve sleep. And good sleep is another often overlooked factor in joint recovery. Some ask, can I substitute gelatin with powdered collagen? You can. Hydrolyzed collagen is even more easily absorbed, but gelatin has its own advantages. It's more affordable, more accessible, and suitable for those just beginning to focus on joint health and wanting to experience initial changes without investing in expensive supplements. However, I must highlight a critical nuance. Gelatin works effectively only in conjunction with vitamin C. Without vitamin C, the body cannot properly assemble collagen fibers. It's like trying to build a house without cement. The materials are there, but they won't form a strong structure. Therefore, when you add your spoonful of gelatin, also include a source of vitamin C such as lemon juice, berries, or a pinch of rosehip. This is a simple, yet critically important step. Now let's look at what you can do tomorrow. A micro-action. Prepare a simple drink at home, 1 tablespoon of gelatin, 200 milliliters of warm water, and a teaspoon of lemon juice. Allow the gelatin to swell, then drink it. Within 7 to 10 days, you'll notice your morning stiffness becoming milder. In 3 to 4 weeks, your joints will find walking easier, and in 8 to 12 weeks, your knees will better tolerate load. This isn't magic, it's physiology. And this is how we transition to the next essential element for joint and bone care, something that amplifies the effect of gelatin and works internally to reduce inflammation. This component is often underestimated, yet it can make the effect of your daily spoonful significantly more potent. When we discuss joint health after 50, we cannot overlook a fundamental factor without which neither gelatin, nor collagen, nor calcium, nor any other supplement will function as intended. And that factor is chronic inflammation. It's what deepens pain, accelerates degradation, and slows down recovery. It's what transforms ordinary exertion into a source of suffering. And it's precisely this factor that the second element, which should accompany your daily spoonful of gelatin, addresses. This element is omega-3 fatty acids, and their role is so undervalued that I insist every person over 50 must understand their significance. To grasp the scope, let's delve into physiology. Joint inflammation isn't merely swelling or redness, It's a complex reaction involving dozens of biochemical mediators, cytokines, prostaglandins, and leukotrienes. When these substances are overproduced, enzymes that should only activate in emergencies begin to break down cartilage. With age, this process occurs silently but steadily. Therefore, osteoarthritis is not just wear and tear. It also has an inflammatory component that progresses over years. Omega-3s work precisely here. They reduce the synthesis of those very aggressive inflammatory mediators. Their action has been studied for decades. They are among the few natural substances that genuinely reduce inflammation, not by masking it, but by correcting the underlying mechanism. Particularly significant is that omega-3s influence the arachidonic acid pathway. It is through this pathway that harmful prostaglandins, which amplify pain and tissue damage, are formed. To put it simply, omega-3s alter the composition of your cell membranes. When a cell receives an inflammatory signal, it begins to release substances from which mediators are built. If the membrane has a low concentration of omega-3s, inflammatory molecules are formed aggressively. If there are sufficient omega-3s, inflammation becomes milder and more controllable. Thus, omega-3s are not painkillers, but fundamental modulators. However, there's another crucial point here, especially when combined with your spoonful of gelatin. Inflammation hinders the body's ability to repair cartilage. Cartilage is a highly sensitive tissue. Any chronic inflammation impairs its regenerative capacity. Even if you provide the body with amino acids from gelatin, it won't use them effectively if inflammation is pronounced. Therefore, omega-3s and gelatin are not two independent products. They form a synergistic pair. It's like simultaneously addressing the cause of degradation and providing materials for repair. Studies show that with regular omega-3 intake for 3 months, pain intensity in arthritis and osteoarthritis decreases, mobility improves, and the need for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs is reduced. This is especially important after 50, when the gastrointestinal tract is less tolerant of pain relievers. Omega-3s work gently but consistently, and their effect gradually builds, much like walls in a house are quietly but surely reinforced. Now, the question of where to get omega-3s. The most reliable option is high-quality fish oil or purified omega-3 supplements with a concentration of at least 1,000 milligrams of EPA plus DHA per daily dose. But if you're not ready to jump straight to supplements, you can start with your diet. Fatty fish consumed 2 to 3 times a week, salmon, mackerel, sardines, herring, can already reduce inflammatory markers. However, it's essential to remember that modern diets are critically low in omega-3s. Deficiencies are found in 80 to 90% of individuals over 50. Therefore, if your joints already ache, if you have osteoarthritis, if you experience morning stiffness, dietary sources are usually insufficient. There's another important benefit. Omega-3s improve the quality of synovial fluid, the very lubrication that allows joints to move smoothly. This fluid can be likened to oil in a mechanism. When there's enough, the mechanism runs quietly. When there's too little, friction, discomfort, and creaking appear. Omega-3s enhance the viscosity and composition of synovial fluid, thereby reducing clicking, easing movement, and making joints feel more responsive. Now let's look at a micro-action you can implement tomorrow. Simply add to your daily spoonful of gelatin a capsule of omega-3 containing at least 500 milligrams of EPA and 300 to 400 milligrams of DHA, or a portion of fatty fish for dinner. Within 2 to 3 weeks, you'll notice your joints responding more smoothly to exertion. In 6 to 8 weeks, overall stiffness will decrease. And crucially, gelatin will begin to work more noticeably because you're mitigating the inflammatory background that was hindering its effectiveness. This is why the combination of gelatin plus omega-3s is not a trend, but physiology. You're reducing degradation while simultaneously vigorously supporting repair. This is a case where small steps lead to significant changes. And if you find these detailed, honest health analyses after 50 beneficial, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This is our second vital point of contact, enabling me to continue explaining complex processes in simple terms. Next, we'll examine a component that benefits both bones and joints, but in a completely different way. It not only supports structure, but also regulates processes within bone tissue, which is particularly crucial for osteoporosis. This is an element that is deficient in almost everyone over 50, and without it, the effectiveness of even good nutrition dramatically declines. When we talk about joint and bone health after 50, we inevitably arrive at a component without which neither gelatin, nor omega-3s, nor calcium, nor any other method yields the expected results. This is the element that determines not only bone strength, but also the ability of joints to withstand stress, recover, and remain flexible. And this component is vitamin D. It's not just a vitamin, it's a hormone-like substance that governs the activity of hundreds of genes and regulates processes crucial for the structural integrity of the musculoskeletal system, preventing it from literally crumbling. This is precisely why vitamin D deficiency after 50 can be labeled one of the most dangerous and underestimated factors in arthritis, osteoarthritis, and osteoporosis. And the longer this deficiency persists, the more challenging it becomes to rectify the situation. To understand the magnitude of the problem, vitamin D deficiency affects over 70 to 80% of individuals over 50, and in northern regions it's 90 to 95%. This is an almost universal figure. The reasons are straightforward. With age, the skin synthesizes vitamin D less effectively under sunlight exposure. We spend less time outdoors and our diet barely covers our needs. To obtain the daily recommended intake, you'd have to consume an unrealistic amount of fatty fish every day. Consequently, the deficiency accumulates over years, while previously it might have only caused fatigue or mild weakness. After 50, it begins to impact joints and bones. Let's explore what vitamin D specifically does. Firstly, it regulates calcium absorption. If vitamin D levels are low, calcium passes through the intestines without being properly absorbed, settling anywhere but in the bones. This is one reason why people take calcium for months, yet their bones remain brittle. Not because there's a lack of calcium, but because there's a deficiency in vitamin D, which should be integrating calcium into its proper place. Secondly, vitamin D directs osteoblasts, the cells that build bone. Without sufficient levels of this vitamin, osteoblasts work slowly and bone degradation outpaces repair. This is a direct path to osteoporosis. Thirdly, vitamin D reduces the activity of inflammatory cytokines. And as we've discussed, chronic inflammation is the primary enemy of joints. It erodes cartilage, makes pain more persistent, and disrupts tissue nourishment. If vitamin D levels are low, the body is in a constant state of heightened inflammatory readiness. This accelerates the development of osteoarthritis and intensifies any discomfort. Fourthly, vitamin D participates in collagen synthesis, meaning that even your amino acids from gelatin will be less effective without it. You can supply the body with building materials, but without the governing process, the effect will be partial. This is something many are unaware of. Gelatin, omega-3s, and vitamin D mutually enhance each other. Together, they provide a foundation that supports joints, cartilage, and bones, while also reducing inflammation. But if you remove vitamin D from this system, everything begins to function significantly worse. Now let's consider the consequences of its deficiency, which you might experience daily without connecting them to vitamin D. Morning stiffness that takes a long time to subside, pain in the knees and hips after normal exertion, a feeling of wobbly legs, reduced muscle strength. A major risk factor for falls, nighttime leg cramps, aching with weather changes, increased fatigue, slow recovery after physical activity. All these symptoms are often attributed to age, but in a vast number of cases they are simply due to a basic vitamin D deficiency. To strengthen bone tissue, support joints, and reduce inflammation, a vitamin D level of no less than 35 to 40 nanograms per milliliter is required, with an optimal range of 45 to 55 nanograms per milliliter. Most individuals over 50 have levels between 10 and 20 nanograms per milliliter, a state where joints literally cannot function normally. How can you raise your vitamin D levels? Certainly one can spend more time in the sun, but after age 50, synthesis slows to such an extent that it's insufficient. Therefore, the truly effective approach is to take vitamin D, with dosages adjusted for age and individual deficiency. For most adults past 50, approximately 2,400 international units daily are recommended, and sometimes even more. However, the precise amount is determined by a blood test. For a practical step, you can implement starting tomorrow. Begin taking your vitamin D in the morning or early afternoon with a meal containing fat. This will significantly enhance its absorption. Within 4 to 6 weeks, you should notice a reduction in deep fatigue, decreased muscle and joint inflammation, and an improved ability to tolerate physical exertion. By 8 to 12 weeks, you'll observe increased resilience and a feeling of greater strength, which is a tangible physiological change, not merely a subjective impression. It's crucial to emphasize that vitamin D amplifies the benefits of your daily collagen supplement and omega-3 intake, making their actions more precise, profound, and noticeable. Consider it akin to simultaneously improving the quality of your building materials, mitigating destructive forces, and enhancing the work of skilled craftspeople, restoring structure. However, there's another vital element that truly completes this physiological circuit. Without it, calcium cannot effectively reach the bone. Vitamin D cannot reach its full potential, and blood vessels risk calcification. This element dictates the correct distribution of minerals throughout your body. Before we delve deeper into this interconnected process, please listen to the end and don't forget to support this channel. If you value in-depth analyses like this, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your engagement empowers me to continue providing honest, valuable content specifically for adults who are keen to understand their health. When individuals over 50 embark on restoring their joint and bone health, they almost invariably take two actions. They increase their calcium intake and boost their vitamin D levels. This seems logical at first glance. However, here lies a paradox. For a vast number of people, calcium never actually reaches their bones. It remains in the bloodstream, potentially depositing in soft tissues, blood vessels, joints, anywhere but where it's intended to function. Consequently, individuals often wonder, why am I taking calcium and vitamin D, yet my bones remain brittle? Why do my joints still ache as before? The answer most commonly lies with a single nutrient without which the entire process falters. This nutrient is vitamin K2, the most underestimated ally for joints and bones. It's not just important, it dictates precisely where absorbed calcium will be directed. If vitamin K2 is deficient, calcium may inadvertently contribute to bone deterioration rather than strengthening. To grasp the significance of K2, let's examine its physiological role. Calcium is the building material, but constructing bone is only possible when there are workers capable of delivering this material to the site. Vitamin K2 acts as these essential workers. It activates two crucial proteins. The first is osteocalcin, a protein responsible for integrating calcium into bone tissue, thereby creating a dense, robust structure. However, without vitamin K2, osteocalcin remains inactive. It's present but non-functional, preventing calcium from entering the bone. The second protein is matrix Gla protein, MGP. Its role is to protect blood vessels and soft tissues from calcification. When MGP is active, it effectively escorts calcium away from areas where it poses a risk, such as artery walls. Conversely, if K2 is insufficient, MGP remains dormant, allowing calcium to accumulate in arteries, escalating the risk of atherosclerosis. This brings us to a critical point. Vitamin D enhances calcium absorption, while vitamin K2 directs that calcium to its intended destination. If you have adequate vitamin D but insufficient vitamin K2, you create a situation where calcium levels increase, but the mechanism for its proper distribution is absent. This is one reason why some individuals experience joint discomfort, heaviness, or even increased joint cracking when taking vitamin D and calcium supplements. However, the role of K2 extends far beyond bone health. Research indicates that adequate vitamin K2 levels improve the condition of joints in cases of osteoarthritis by reducing cartilage calcification, a process that stiffens joints, diminishes mobility, and causes pain. Healthy cartilage should be pliable, not clogged with calcified deposits. K2 helps maintain its vitality. Why is vitamin K2 deficiency so prevalent? Several factors contribute. Firstly, modern diets are largely devoid of natural K2 sources such as fermented foods, traditionally aged cheeses, and full-fat dairy products. Secondly, the body's synthesis of K2 in the gut diminishes with age, particularly after prolonged antibiotic use, digestive issues, or reduced bacterial activity. Thirdly, many individuals fear fats and opt for low-fat products. Yet vitamin K2 is fat-soluble and poorly absorbed without adequate dietary fat. Now let's consider what happens within the musculoskeletal system when the body has sufficient K2. Bone density increases as osteocalcin functions correctly, reducing the risk of microfractures and fractures. Joint surfaces become more pliable. The likelihood of inflammation related to calcification decreases. Joint mobility improves because cartilage remains healthy. Muscles function more stably as K2 influences mineralization quality. The risk of falls is reduced not only due to stronger bones, but also due to enhanced nerve impulse transmission. All of these benefits are particularly important after age 50, when bone mass loss accelerates. Joints, moreover, react acutely to any dietary missteps. For most adults over 50, a daily intake of 100 to 200 micrograms of vitamin K2 in its MK7 form is recommended. The MK7 form circulates effectively and for an extended period in the bloodstream, activating the necessary proteins. However, this vitamin has a crucial stipulation. It should be taken concurrently with vitamin D and calcium, not in isolation. The efficacy of K2 is realized when vitamin D has already initiated its processes. Now for a practical step you can take starting tomorrow. Incorporate vitamin K2 at a dosage of 100 to 200 micrograms daily alongside your vitamin D. Alternatively, you can aim to obtain it through your diet, though this is more challenging, involving naturally fermented cheeses and very aged products. Nevertheless, a supplement offers a predictable outcome. Within 4 to 6 weeks, you should feel increased joint flexibility, and by 8 to 12 weeks, your legs will feel more stable and your movements more confident. Most importantly, vitamin K2 completes the system we've been discussing from the outset. Gelatin provides the material, omega-3 reduces inflammation, vitamin D initiates the repair process, and K2 directs calcium to where it's needed. Only in combination do they create a truly tangible effect. However, there is one more crucial element seldom discussed that determines the speed of joint recovery. It's not a supplement, a vitamin, or some exotic product. It's a factor that governs cartilage nutrition, joint mobility, and the capacity to withstand physical stress. Its importance is so significant that without it, all the aforementioned methods operate at only half their potential. But before we address this vital component, I'd like to remind you, if you appreciate thorough, honest analyses devoid of miraculous claims, please support this channel by liking this video and subscribing. Your support is our connection and enables me to explain complex processes in simple terms, specifically for discerning adults. When we discuss joint health, many envision cartilage, bone, and synovial fluid, believing it all boils down to nutrition and vitamins. Yet a single key factor dictates virtually everything about a joint's ability to function. It's the factor without which gelatin, omega-3, vitamin D, and vitamin K2 cannot be fully effective. This factor is movement, not strenuous sports or intense workouts, but physiological, gentle, and regular movements that ensure cartilage nourishment, blood circulation, synovial fluid synthesis, and bone strength. Cartilage lacks its own blood vessels. It receives sustenance through the mechanical expulsion and absorption of fluid during movement. Imagine a sponge. When you squeeze it, it expels old fluid, and when you release it, it absorbs fresh fluid. This is how cartilage is nourished. Consequently, insufficient movement leads to cartilage starvation. This is a primary reason for the development of osteoarthritis after age 50, not merely wear and tear, but a decline in nourishment. Let's examine the facts. When individuals spend most of their day seated, their joints, particularly the knees and hips, receive minimal synovial fluid, meaning cartilage regenerates more slowly, becoming drier, thinner, and less elastic. While omega-3 can reduce inflammation, gelatin can provide building materials, and vitamins D and K2 can regulate mineralization. If a joint doesn't move, it doesn't receive nourishment. The second mechanism involves muscles. After 50, muscle mass declines significantly, a process known as sarcopenia. Muscles are more than just strength, they are joint stabilizers. When muscles weaken, the load directly impacts cartilage, ligaments, and bone, accelerating joint deterioration. MRI scans reveal that individuals over 50 with weakened thigh muscles experience osteoarthritis progression 2 to 3 times faster. The third mechanism is blood supply. A multitude of small blood vessels surround the joints, nourishing ligaments, the joint capsule, and bone. However, for blood to flow actively, muscular contractions are necessary, acting as a pump. If you walk infrequently or spend extended periods in one posture, blood supply diminishes, consequently hindering tissue repair. The fourth mechanism is balance and coordination. These naturally decline after 50, increasing the risk of falls, the primary threat in osteoporosis. Even a minor fall can result in a hip fracture. Therefore, movement is not only essential for cartilage nutrition, but also for preventing serious injuries. Now, the most critical aspect, movement must be correct. Many mistakenly begin with strenuous joint loading, such as squats, jumps, or running, only to exacerbate their condition. Joints after 50 require intelligent loading. The following types of movements genuinely aid in joint restoration. Daily walks of 20 to 40 minutes at a relaxed pace. Gentle joint mobility exercises for 10 to 15 minutes each morning. Exercises targeting the thigh muscles, particularly the quadriceps and glutes. Resistance band exercises, which are an excellent option. Swimming or water aerobics to alleviate excess stress. And gentle stretching 3 to 4 times a week. This is not about sports. It's a tool for recovery. The most important factor is consistency. Not 1 hour per week, but small amounts daily. Scientific evidence indicates that walking 6,000 to 8,000 steps daily can reduce the progression of knee osteoarthritis by 30 to 40%. Furthermore, exercises for the thigh muscles can alleviate pain and improve mobility more effectively than many medications. However, movement benefits not only joints, but also bones. Bone tissue responds to stress, it densifies under pressure and loses density with minimal loading. This is Wolff's Law, a fundamental principle. Therefore, avoiding movement in cases of osteoporosis is counterproductive. The correct approach is to select appropriate forms of exercise. Let's consider the synergistic effect of combining all these elements. Gelatin provides collagen amino acids, omega-3 reduces inflammation, vitamin D initiates repair processes, and vitamin K2 directs calcium to the bones. Movement, in turn, enables joints to absorb nourishment, improves blood flow, strengthens muscles, and reduces stress on cartilage. This is why individuals who adopt this comprehensive program experience initial improvements within 2 to 3 weeks, with true stability emerging after 2 to 3 months, the time frame for physiological tissue changes. Starting tomorrow, dedicate 10 to 12 minutes to gentle joint exercises in the morning, focusing on smooth, pain-free movements without strain or overstretching. This might include circular motions of the shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, a slight forward bend, and a gentle stretch of the hamstrings. These exercises are time-efficient but profoundly beneficial internally. Within 10 days, you'll notice it becomes easier to move in the morning. Within a month, your joints will feel more confident. By 2 to 3 months, pain will diminish and movement stability will increase. Most significantly, movement enhances the efficacy of your supplements because nutrient-rich fluid circulation improves, cartilage receives building materials, and inflammation subsides more rapidly. Nevertheless, there remains a critically important factor that, if overlooked, will cause joints to continue deteriorating, even with proper nutrition, collagen, omega-3, vitamin D, K2, and exercise. This is a factor that operates subtly but is the most destructive to joints. It's rarely considered, yet it often determines the success or failure of any treatment. Before we examine it, I must reiterate how vital your support is for these in-depth analyses. If you find them valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your support, requested for the 3rd time today, is instrumental in creating high-quality content for adults. There is a silent, inconspicuous factor that destroys joints more rapidly than age, wear and tear, or excess weight. It's the factor that prevents gelatin, omega-3, vitamin D, K2, and even movement from yielding their full benefits. This factor is sugar, and not just refined sugar, but the excessive consumption of all rapid carbohydrates, biscuits, pastries, sweetened teas, juices, sugary yogurts, candies, health bars, excessive honey, and baked goods. I emphasize this point strongly because people underestimate the destructive power of sugar on joints. It is often the underlying cause of chronic inflammation, increased pain, and accelerated cartilage breakdown. When individuals over 50 add a spoonful of gelatin, take omega-3, consume vitamin D, and exercise, yet continue to consume excessive sugar, they are actively working against themselves. Sugar effectively negates a significant portion of their efforts. Let's dissect what happens in the body. Firstly, excessive sugar drastically elevates levels of inflammatory cytokines, precisely the substances we aim to reduce with omega-3. Sugar undermines this effect. Systemic inflammation escalates, impacting cartilage and leading to joint swelling, pain, and stiffness. Secondly, sugar initiates the process of glycation. Glycation occurs when sugar molecules attach to proteins. Cartilage, ligaments, and tendons are all protein structures. When these structures undergo glycation, they become stiff, brittle, and less elastic, a key mechanism in accelerated joint aging. Thirdly, Sugar disrupts the balance of gut microflora, and the gut plays a significant role in regulating inflammation. Imbalance leads to increased inflammation, impaired immune function, and further joint distress. Fourthly, sugar promotes weight gain, and each kilogram of excess weight imposes an additional 4 to 6 kilograms of load on the knee joints, a colossal burden that cartilage cannot withstand. Fifthly, excess sugar reduces tissue sensitivity to insulin. Insulin resistance is a major companion of osteoarthritis, a condition that impairs tissue nutrition, slows repair, exacerbates inflammation, and perpetuates a vicious cycle of destruction. This is why sugar is the hidden enemy of your joints. If it is not eliminated, all other interventions will only be half as effective. However, there is good news. As soon as sugar intake is reduced, a portion of the inflammation subsides within 10 to 14 days. Joints become less swollen, morning stiffness eases, pain decreases, and within a month, individuals report feeling lighter, experiencing freer movement, and observing a gentler response in their knees, hips, and spine to physical activity. Replace sugary pastries with nuts or berries. Eliminate snacks high in sugar. Reserve sweets for 1 or 2 occasions a week in small quantities, and you will witness your joints responding with gratitude. Now let's trace the entire pathway to form a comprehensive understanding. The initial spoonful of gelatin provides building material. Omega-3 reduces inflammation, which is essential for repair. Vitamin D initiates regulatory processes for bone and cartilage tissue. Vitamin K2 directs calcium to its active sites. Movement revitalizes the joint, nourishes the cartilage. Reducing sugar eliminates a fundamental destructive factor. When all these elements function in concert, joints begin to repair. This is not a miracle, magic, or marketing. It's physiology. It's how the body is designed. By applying all these principles consistently, calmly, and without abrupt changes, you will feel a palpable difference within 2 to 3 months. And within 6 months, this improvement will become your new way of life. And now, the most crucial point that many fail to grasp, even when doing everything else correctly. For joints to truly improve, it's not just about what you add, but what you remove. You can incorporate gelatin, omega-3, vitamin D, K2, and engage in movement, but if your diet still contains excessive sugar, you are actively promoting inflammation daily. I've encountered numerous individuals who improved their joint health solely by eliminating sugar, even without supplements, because they removed the primary impediment. In conclusion, I want to share a vital message. After age 50, each of us needs a system, not a miracle. We need consistent, deliberate steps, not the anticipation of immediate results. Joints can regenerate, bones can strengthen. Even if you currently experience pain, stiffness, or immobility, it's not a definitive sentence but a signal. And signals can be addressed if you wish to continue receiving such in-depth, honest analyses, free from advertising and hollow promises. Please support this channel by liking this video and subscribing. This is the third request, and it's the gesture that enables the creation of new materials for you.